Hello, welcome back to part two. First of all, let's look at how we are going to define and profile market segments within service markets. So it's very similar to principles of marketing. A lot of it are the same concepts, just applied in a slightly different way. So we look at demographic variables, which include age, race, religion, family size. We've got geographical variables such as cities, regions, countries, etc. We've got psychographic variables such as social class, lifestyles and personality, and behavioural variables such as knowledge, attitudes and usage, like how often they use it, the different attitudes of different products, and how much they know. A big part of services marketing, a growing part of services marketing I should say, is this knowledge idea about customer learning. As we develop closer relationships with our customers, they learn more about our business and our products, and they actually end up becoming better customers because they know more about our business and the market in which we operate. So a market segment profile describes the similarities among potential customers within a segment and explains the differences among people and organisations in different segments. All right, and that's published in this research here. So market profiles developed by Tourism Queensland are presented on the next slide. So we're going to look at these, how Tourism Queensland have used the profiling to actually come up with different segments. So the first segment is connectors. Now, I'm not going to read all this out because the idea is not a full in-depth study of how tourism works. It's mainly to understand how we can use segmentation, targeting, positioning to develop different segments. So the first profile segments. So the first one are connectors. And these are, so the summarising statement of connectors are basically people coming to Queensland, tourists, that seek to reconnect with people that they care about, such as family and friends. And you can imagine if you're trying to promote a Queensland to, if you're working for Tourism Queensland, you're trying to promote that, you'd go, well, who does come here and how are we going to communicate with them? So that's going to be a big part, 32%. Now, there's others that are another segment, which are the social fun seekers, and they like to have and share an impressive fun experience with friends. So it's a social fun seeking thing. Basically, here you're going on a holiday because that's where your family is. Here you're going on a holiday because that's where you want to go with your friends. Another segment is unwinders, where they just want to go to this destination, this place, just to unwind. So they seek a peaceful holiday and leave the cares of the world behind. So it's pretty much escaping. Right. Now, another smaller segment is the self-discoverers. I seek to feel enriched and to satisfy my curiosity and personal discovery. All right, cool. Another one are the active explorers. I seek to challenge myself in physical activities and to explore the world. They do exciting stuff like whitewater rafting. And then the last segment is the stylish travellers, which they seek a broad variety of experiences and confident in trying new things. Obviously, got more money too. So that's just one example of how we can break down the market into different segments and develop profiles for each of those market segments. Now, other examples of positioning, we've got one here. This comes from the textbook. So Cathay Pacific, now their target customers quality and service conscious travellers, and the benefits that this target customer gets is an overall very enjoyable pre and in-flight experience, right? So they're not going for the cheap lower end of the market like as some airlines do. They cut out all the frills and they cut back on the service because they're just trying to get the price as cheap as possible. Now, the positioning then and the value proposition, so the value proposition and the positioning are kind of very closely linked, because the positioning is how you want your customers to view your product relative to competitors in the marketplace. And your value proposition is effectively how you communicate that. So that's better value and superior customer service, which you'd emphasise that in a somewhat commoditised industry. Now, remember we talked a little bit about this in the face-to-face workshop about commodities, where you have lots of different products to the point where they start to become undifferentiated. So you really have to work then to be able to make your product different from the others again. Now, Flight Centre, which is an Australian travel agency, they're targeting a different type of customer. These are price conscious travellers. So this one's more about quality of service. This one's about price. And the benefits they offer is just cheaper price. So they do a best price guarantee, adequate service from experienced consultants. And we're actually going to look at travel agencies in some of the workshops and how we're managing changing market conditions and how we could adjust our positioning within the market to adapt to changing market conditions. Starbucks, they seek a different, relaxing in-cafe experience and a superior coffee. That's kind of who they're trying to target. Now, the idea is a third place concept, whereas you're not at home relaxing, you're not at work working, you're in this other place where you're just going to meet up with friends or whatnot to relax. So if you're not at home, you're not at work, you're hanging out at Starbucks. That's kind of what their goal was. So they're positioning it as a premium priced upmarket coffee experience with excellent service, intimate servicescape, like the way it's set out, expanding in Asian countries. Didn't work so well in Australia, but internationally it's still successful positioning. And the last one I look at is Domino's Pizza, which is convenience-minded pizza lovers. And really, Domino's are about being speedy and reliable, so good pizza delivered to your home within a specified time at a fair price. So we looked at temporal risk, like if you order pizza, it's like, well, how long is it going to take to get here? If the pizza takes 2 hours to get delivered, you'd be like, what's the point? We might as well just go make our own dinner, right? So it's really about them trying to go, well, yes, you order pizza with us, we'll get it to you really quick. All right, now other segmentation variables to consider are aesthetic taste and preferences, quality and value expectations, special interests and requirements, and then socio-cultural differences. Now you can try and squeeze these other segmentation variables into the 4 broad categories, and you might get some kind of success in that, but we're just trying to emphasize those to think, well, maybe for services, especially in a different cultural context, there are these other extra things to consider. Now, understanding the concept of positioning. So we've got a few questions that we want to ask ourselves. So how do our customers perceive us? What do they expect from us? And how well do we understand and fulfill these expectations? Now, this is massive in services because really what we're trying to do is keep satisfied customers, because satisfied customers will be loyal customers, and then loyal customers will keep purchasing with us, and then that's going to be sustainable. We're going to make money, all right? So really, if we can manage people's expectations and understand them and deliver on people's expectations, we go through that chain of events and we're going to make more money and have a profitable business. So it's easy for me to say this on a lecture slide, just understand people's expectations, but it's extremely difficult to do. It's difficult to communicate, it's difficult to comprehend, and it's difficult to actually bring all together. So another one is, what customers do we now serve, and which ones would we like to target for us in the future? This is a key one. This is about targeting. Who's our target customers? Which ones? And you'd be surprised how many businesses out there don't actually know the answer to that question. What are the attributes and benefits of our current service offerings, such as the core products and accompanying supplementary service elements, and how do they compare with competitive offerings? This is a good place to start, because if you're trying to work out what you're going to do best in the market, you could go, well, what are we currently doing that's working really well? The advantage of experience. How do our service offerings differ from those of the competition, and how compelling are those differences? You'd be surprised how many businesses go, oh, well, our service is different from our competitors because we do this. And you're like, well, all right, you think it's different and you think that difference is special, but do your customers? And I find that, some things it's just, you just shake your head and go, that's not a meaningful difference. How do our service offerings differ from those of the competition, and how compelling are they? I've just read that word. How are there weaknesses or vulnerables in competing offerings, and how do we exploit those to our advantage? You can sometimes you analyse someone else's business and they go, well, they're actually offering a pretty good product in the marketplace, but they're missing this key element of it. And you go, well, if I can actually include that in our service offering, we'll have an advantage. We'll develop a competitive advantage in the market. According to customers in different market segments, how well do each of our service offerings meet their needs, which is a key marketing question, and what changes do we need to make to our offerings to strengthen our competitive position within these segments of interest to our firm? All right, so if you can get through those questions and you know the answer to those, you'll definitely help you in positioning your service. So let's look at competitive positioning, and the essence of a good positioning follows these 4 principles. So when you develop a positioning strategy for in your service audit, I want you to think about these. So a company must establish a position in the mind of its target customers, and you'll be surprised how frequent it is where the businesses know how they want to be positioned. It's not good enough. It's not good enough for you to know how you want to be positioned. You really got to be thinking about how your customers perceive you. Positioning is in the minds of our customers. It's not what we want to be, it's what they think we are. And there's a massive difference between those two. So to fully understand your positioning, you have to talk to your customers, ask them, how do you see us? The position, so that was number 1, in the minds of target customers. Number 2, the position should provide one simple and consistent message. Again, this is easy to say, but often we spend so much time marketing and we get so complicated that we lose the simplicity of what we're doing, and it means something to us, therefore we think it means something to our customers. But we do the marketing, it's our job. We spend a lot of time thinking about our services and our products. Our customers might not. They might not be as invested in our business as we are. So therefore, when we talk about this stuff, if we make it too complex, it just flies over their head and it doesn't mean anything to them. So we need to keep it simple and consistent. And these things come from this text here. The position must set a company apart from its competitors. So that's the differentiator there. If you positioned, but it's the same as all your competitors, it's not really a sustainable position. A company cannot be all things to all people. It needs focus. And that's going right back to the beginning of the first part where we said, there's 4 different types. The first one was a fully focused strategy, and the last one was an unfocused strategy. And I kind of said, people start out in the unfocused strategy, but you want to get to the fully focused strategy. That's the most sustainable one. All right. Now let's look at humour. So sometimes people use humour to position the brand, and I like it. I like funny things. But it can be a double-edged sword, like it can cut both ways. So the humour paradox is the paradox of duality in humour functions between the unification and the division serves to make humour a double-edged sword by which communicators can unite or divide their audiences. And this is, you've got to be a little bit careful here, because sometimes you do a joke and half your customers will be like, haha, that's really funny, I love that joke, and others might go, oh, cringe. So what you've done then, that joke's just divided it. Now, having said that, it can work, because if your target audience is listening to that joke going, haha, that's really funny, I love it, good. And if people outside your target audience do not like it, then who cares? They're not in your target market anyway. You could just be strengthening your positioning within that market. So the people that aren't really going to be valuable customers to you go, well, I don't want to use that firm anyway, right? Or that business or whatnot. So you haven't really lost anything. You've just really tightened in your focus. I'm going to post this YouTube video on you to watch. In here, down the bottom here, is the research which that was published with, and here's an example of a advertisement using humour. Now, the building blocks for a successful positioning strategy. So first of all, we start off with points of parity down the bottom here, at the bottom of a triangle. So attributes perceived as offering essentially the same performance as benefits as the competition. Now, this means parity means on par. That's the same. All right. Now, points of contention are attributes which customers and the firm disagree regarding functional or emotional performance and benefits. Right. So the firm thinks that they are really differentiating themselves because of one thing that they're doing really well, but the customer's like, yeah, not really, all right? Or what happens sometimes as well is some customers see them as points of difference, but other customers don't. So it's the contention between the firm and the customers, which is true. That's kind of what the point this is making as well, but also between different customers. Some might agree and some might not. Right, now the point where we want to be to, the pointy end of the triangle, the apex, is the actual points of difference. And these are attributes that make the firm's brand either superior or inferior to the competition. Obviously, you want to be superior, but they are things where you go, all right, what we think makes us different from the rest of the market. Our customers agree, and we actually are different because of those attributes. Right, now we've got a positioning of Bread Talk here. So this comes from the textbook, figure 3.3. Now, the key marketing elements of Bread Talk's positioning strategy, and here's a picture of Bread Talk to help us understand what we're talking about. So the target market are consumers seeking a different bakery experience, so more of a modern bakery concept. Now, to do this, they want to talk about they want to get to this Bread Talk brand. Now, this brand is made up of service excellence, such as the brand experience, or often we talk about customer experience now, CX. We've got the Servicescape, the see-through kitchen, which was a fairly new concept when they came out. You can actually see the chefs or the bakers, whatever they're called, in the background, and which is also part of the brand experience or the customer experience. Now, the product image, innovative and decorative packaging. You can't really see that a lot here, but they've got like these cardboard fold-out fancy thingies. So it's not just the actual product itself, like the bread that looks cool. It's the way that they package it up, looks good. And then value for money, which is also part of the brand experience. Now, all of those go through to the brand and the way they want their brand to be positioned. So, and that positioning is an experiential boutique bakery, and it's actually been really successful, like a new modern bakery concept, and they've done quite well. Alright, I'm going to leave it there for this one, and next one we're going to talk about the positioning in marketing management.